Welcome back. Now, the plan of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration to run a January to December budgetary year may not be achieved again in 2018 if fillers from the National Assembly are anything to go by. The lawmakers made it clear that the 2018 budget will not be passed in January and also threatened to dump the document altogether. They described the budget as heavily padded, full of errors, inconsistencies, and inaccuracies. The lawmakers say ministries, departments, and agencies have only attained 15 to 20% of the 2017 budget performance, which of course is very poor. Some senators who have spoken on the 2018 budget criticized the executive for not seriously addressing the issue of budget implementation. They say President Buhari has failed in meeting his pledge of 40% implementation of the 2017 budget before the end of the year. The question then is, are we back to the era of budget padding? What can actually be done to ensure prompt and effective passage of the budget? Joining me now to discuss this budget issue further, I have Olayinka Daniels, who is a public affairs analyst and a lawyer as well, and I have Nelson Ekujimi, who is a public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Nelson, are you surprised that the National Assembly, especially the Senate, has now come out to say that it doesn't see this budget getting passed on time at all, and that, that it's looking at beyond January, of course. So obviously, and before now, the House of Representatives had decided to stay action on the budget. That's the 2018 budget now until sometime around March, when it says it hopes the budget will be passed. So it means there's just no way this budget will be passed by January or February.
Well, I'm not surprised because from time immemorial, since this National Assembly came on board, they have never shown any sign of responsibility in any of their activities.
But you don't think they've got a strong point too, when you consider the fact that the 2017 budget is still running anyway, and might still run till, say, May or June?
No, the essence of the legislature goes beyond that. It is about responsibility to, one's constitutional functions. If the 2017 budget is still running, and the executive has presented the 2018 budget before you, no matter the anomalies of the 2017 budget, you have a responsibility to start looking into the 2018 budget, such that the anomalies that you discovered in the 2017 budget that delayed its passage till almost the second quarter of the year will not repeat itself. But here we have this Senate and House of Representatives resorting to blackmail, if you allow me to use that word. Because you also saw it when the president wrote a letter to the National Assembly that he was coming to present the budget. Members of the House of Representatives displayed crass ignorance in saying, no, the 2017 budget is still on. It cannot come and present. Meanwhile, there's no part or no provision in the Constitution that gives you the power to disallow Mr. President from, presenting his budget, which the Honorable Speaker of the House made them to understand, and, at the end of the race, sanity prevailed. So, again, you have seen it playing up in this 2018 budget. If you have discovered some anomalies in the 2017 budget, that is the responsibility of the legislature to call the executive to order with regards to implementation of the budget.
Olayinka, you look at it. I mean, the lawmakers have also alleged that the budget contains too much padding. The last time it was the padding allegation was against the lawmakers. This time, the lawmakers are alleging padding now against the executive, and so that for that they do not see an early passage to the budget. And then the question you ask is, well, if there was padding, it's their job to actually take care of that padding and remove. But they seem to be given the impression that the padding is so enormous that you'd require months to actually deal with them.
Well, I don't think that is the true picture of it. Yes, truly, they discovered there was a padding, and there are some other issues with the budget aside from the padding. Probably some things were not in place, some were outrageous, some were too cautious and all that. Yes, they had issues with the budget. We can't take that out. And if they have issues with the budget, I think it be still on the federal government, that's the executive, to wake up from their slumber, to do the right thing, Because if you're bringing budget, yes. Well, thank God is early in, well, is it early?
But
This is
still,
December.
but
Yeah, I
can't
can't really say it's early.
Anyway.
Yeah, true. But what we can say is early. But then the question is, 2017. In as much as I agree that the delay in the implementation of 2017 budget has nothing to do with the review or passing of the 2018 budget, then we still have to look at it this way. If 2017 budget has not been implemented up to 25%, because the executive came to the
I
House.
still have a problem with that 25%.
No, I'm not accurate. No. Okay, sorry.
I think it's more than 25%.
Well, I'm not accurate about the 25%, but I'm just saying approximately maybe 25-30% thereabout. But this same executive told, the legislature that they had implemented over 40% on capital expenditure. Now, if you said you did that, and from investigation and from what we have, in fact, at the time you even come to talk about loan, the loan was approved, you got the loan. What did you do with it? What happened to the implementation now? Meaning, we are not even serious. Because seriously, if...
because you talked about that loan, let's just quickly say that part of the loan, I'm talking about the Euro bond, for instance, that the government got, part of it, of course, used in refinancing the budget deficit. Budget deficit. Not actually, some you could say that, because they actually used that now to buy back some of the local debts now to cut down on the deficit. And of course, the others, they said they were putting into infrastructure. And of course, so it's still out there, but that's just by the way.
Because seriously, if 2017 is not being implemented to a reasonable percentage, and you're coming with 2018, if I am the one, I will ask, the one we have running,
that's quite
how
true.
far have we gone? I would definitely ask, and that is what the legislator, that is what they've done, to ask questions. What happened with this one? However, it doesn't mean that they can look at it and they can work on the 2018 budget if they are not there to play. Because if we look at it, our legislature really there to legislate over issues or to look at important things like budget, or they are there to maybe set up a committee to investigate an individual that was arrested by some other people somewhere. Don't let us go there. But it is sad. Seriously, if we are working, it shouldn't stop it. At the same time, the executive also should do the needful by waking up to the attacks, by, present your budget. And even the implementation, talking about the implementation, what you find out that this same budget, this 2018 budget, you discover that most of the things that were in 2017 budget,
you still have them.
You still have them in 2018 budget. So what happened? Are you telling us that in the span of 1 year, everything that you put in 2017 budget that is repeating and is showing face again in 2018, we don't, you see, we need to be serious, because if the executive shows signs of seriousness, and I'm sure legislators, or even if they have anything to say, I'm sure we won't go this route.
Anyway, but Nelson, you look at it, should there be any hue and cry over this when, as a matter of fact, the budget, as we know, as presented by the president, is basically a proposal. And so it's before the National Assembly. If there are anything suspicious in the budget, if there are suspicious items in the budget, you would expect that the National Assembly, that it's their job to deal with such suspicious items, get them removed.
Yes, the duty of the legislature is to scrutinize the budget estimate as presented by the executive. And again, let me quickly chip this in from my brother. He said an item in the 2017 budget is resurfacing in the 2018 budget. It behoves on the National Assembly, if they are really responsible and serious, to ask that this item in the 2017 budget, because don't forget, an item could be budgeted for. If there's no fund to execute that budget, it has to come back.
Exactly.
So is it that funds were allocated for that budget and it was not spent for that purpose? Those are the facts. But for the legislator to play to the gallery, to resort to cheap blackmail, because their duty, what they have done with that, is abuse of legislative privilege.
Because one thing we can't deny is that what we have seen over time with our budget is that, look, it's one thing to say, look, our budget for this year is 8 point something trillion or 8 trillion. But at the end of the day, you may just not even be able to realize a quarter of the money.
Of the money to fund the budget,
and,
yes.
And the impression people get outside is that, oh, this item was budgeted for
Yes, last year.
Why is it making an appearance now? What happened to the money that was budgeted? That permanent secretary, that minister must have embezzled the money.
Definitely. There's huge ignorance in the land. You remember the case of the Aso Villa Clinic, where people were shouting over the only for the permanent secretary and the other officials of this hospital to come out and say, look, we had this budget proposal, but what was released to us was grossly insufficient to execute that.
And same case with, because you talked about the Aso Rock Clinic, the National Library. I know there was a time, there was an issue over that where, it was clear that over the years we had budgeted billions and billions, but unfortunately that project has not been completed till date because you budget billions, but you don't release the funds.
They don't release the funds. And I also watched the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Budget Planning come to the House some time ago, and they made this defense that, look, what is happening to the budget implementation is that they are prioritizing some key areas of the economy because of the inflation, because of weather, and the impact on the economy. They mentioned specifically areas like roads, power, railways, and even agriculture. That these are areas that will impact on the economy, and these are areas that are prone to weather variations, because you don't expect that you don't expect to release money for the construction of a road during the rainy season. Definitely, you cannot do that, even as an individual. When you are trying to put up a building, when it's raining, only a foolish man will continue to mix cement and sand and granite when it's raining. Otherwise, it will turn into a waste. So it behoves on the legislature to realize that, look, instead of them coming to the public to embarrass themselves and not the Nigerian people, because they are expected to carry out their responsibility with utmost sense of of seriousness, that if the executive has brought a budget to you, it is not left for you to scrutinize, and where you have found the executive wanting, you point it out within the two of you, you sort out these differences.
And Olayinka, I mean, you look at this crisis we continue to have over the budget year in, year out. You tend to get the impression that, it's like some people feel it is their budget. It is not our budget. As if it's not a budget for the country. You understand? Each time we have this idea, or this fight now between the lawmakers and the executive, you begin to get the impression, what exactly are they fighting over? They're fighting over a budget that is supposed to be for every one of them, all of us. But the impression you get sometimes is like, okay, it's their budget, it's not our budget, and that's not too good.
No, let's clear that. If the legislators are fighting, note, they are representing a constituency.
Exactly, I know that.
Meaning,
and it's the budget of that constituency.
Of the constituency.
Anyway. That's what I'm saying.
Meaning they are speaking the mind of the constituency. Meaning that they are speaking the mind of the people. All of us can go.
Hopefully, because let's face it, how many of these constituents, if you like, actually look at the budget and come to tell their lawmakers
if I will come our route, I will say this. See, the so-called legislator, because if you say...
No, the reason I ask that question is it necessary to continue to have this fight over the budget?
You see, there's no how you won't have a fight over the budget if the budget is not in place. See, if you have a budget, if I present a budget to you to execute a particular thing, a project, and I look at the budget, is it visible? Can we achieve this? Is it realistically achieved and all that? You see, what I would do is to go back, to look at it. Okay, if I need to cut, that I cut down. If not, then the second thing that will happen is, how do I get to this? How do I get money, to fund this budget? Now, if I have not done that, we're not going anywhere. So there's no how, as long as the executive is not doing his job, is not doing a proper job, and is going to the so-called legislator that are also waiting with their ego to say, yes, you will meet us here now. You think you are the government. We will tell you that we also have power to do whatever we want to do. Then when you get that, you will see a fight. Why? Because they are not even patriots. Basically, majorly, they are fighting among themselves, their ego, and not even about the constituencies that we talk about. And that is the reason why you will see fight year in, year out. And that's the reason why you're not going to see them work together, and some people will suffer. We, the people, will be the ones to suffer.
Even when they belong to the same political party.
It will happen. It will. But until when the executive is doing the appropriate job, what it's supposed to do, you want to present a budget, do what is needful, look at it very well. We have the ministry. We have a whole minister for that. What has it done about it? Even if there will be a query, not to rubbish it as a proposer. Even if there will be a query, if you have done a due diligence on the budget, we won't get to this point. Bear in mind that even when it gets to the table of the legislator, they will still talk, they will still question it, they will query it. It is their duty to do that. They will ask questions. It is that they are not doing anything out of place. But what we have here as people, when it comes to our legislator, ego comes in before anything. And we have seen that in so many dealings of the National Assembly. Ego comes in and it takes forever. I hope that maybe before the next quarters, this budget will be looked at and will be passed.
Anyway, I mean, the good thing is that we still have the 2017 budget running, but
early to rise, early to bed. If we start working on the 2018 budget, those pitfalls that, resulted in the late passage of the 2017 budget will be quickly tackled,
because
and resolved.
It's just like saying, why, okay, the presidency might have just decided to wait and say, okay, we won't.
Yes, until the 2017 budget runs out.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not like
it just doesn't make sense.
Public finances must not be run down.
It just doesn't make sense. But very quickly, very quickly, because we have to end the program now, I just want you to give me your reaction on, this scarcity of fuel we're seeing across the country today.
It's so sad and and dehumanizing that at this point in time in our national life we have to go through this again. It tells you clearly the chaos, the irresponsibility that pervades our oil industry, where people saddled with responsibility can be trading blames instead of finding solutions to problems. The NNPC has told us that they are releasing about 80 million liters per day, unlike the 30 million liters that that is customary. And you want to ask, where has those fuel gone into? Have they gone into thin air? Were they bought by ghost? You look at people at the pumps, and you feel sad as a person that Nigerians can be dehumanized to get what God has endowed them naturally with. It's one that calls to question our level of civility as a people.
Your own take on it?
Well, I would say that Nigeria, as we see it, I will call it a tragic comic arena where the sun comes to play, suffering and smiling every day. Things go wrong, we smile, we are happy people, even at the worst situation on ground. Because seriously, why do we have to suffer year in, year out? Fuel scarcity,
at this time of
year in, year, and at this time of the... In fact, I was a filling station, and already they are turning this to a tribal issue that when they were doing the Muslim festival, that there was no scarcity of fuel. How come it's now Christmas, there's fuel scarcity? Already they are turning... That is the nation we are in, the society we are in, that every slightest thing, they pick it and they manufacture their ideas out of it. It is sad. And why? What is the government doing about this? You see, we have this agency. Look at the Pengasite issue. Do we need it? Strike because you have issue with one company. Now the entire nation, the entire populace had to suffer for just one company's whatever. No, so tomorrow it can be another company. When are we going to stop this? When will this fuel issue stop? in a country where we have our crude, a country where we sell and we cannot even boast of enough fuel being refined by our own people. Yes, we have our refineries, but can we have more than enough to go around? And you told us that there is enough fuel to the next quarters. So where is the fuel? Like you said, from 30 to 80 million. Where is the fuel? The other time in Kano, I think they saw 144 trucks filled of fuel packed somewhere. Who is doing this? Are we saying we don't know the perpetrators? Are we saying we don't know the people sabotaging and blackmailing us about this whole thing? Why do we have to, even the slightest small thing as fuel that we have in this country, we can't even enjoy? Tell me what the populace we enjoy in this country.
Because they talked about Pengasson, let me just get your own opinion on that. I mean, we saw Pengasson going on strike during this period also over what happened in a particular company with some of their members. You know, that company, for instance, we understand didn't want union activities in the company, and some members of staff actually went against the policy of the company, joined the union, and the company actually disengaged them. And so Pengasson decided to take that out on not just the company now, but on the entire country. We've seen that with New Peng as well. For instance, in this country today, you move against any trailer driver, you're inviting problem, you're inviting chaos, because New Peng might just decide to go on strike over, over that. We've seen that several times. I mean, this has got to end, if you ask me. And it's quite surprising, too, that well, maybe because the government's hands will be tied, the government will have to step in. Like in the case of Pengasson, the recent strike by Pengasson, it took the intervention of the government to call both sides together before this issue was resolved.
It's unfortunate that this can only happen in Nigeria. Such absurdities. We have never seen it already happen anywhere else in the world.
Because you ask yourself, couldn't Pengasson, for instance, had gone to picket for instance,
does it mean if you have, as DEJI360, if you have problems with your staff and you have to retrench some of your staff, does it mean the RATAU, Radio and Television Workers Union, will shut down all the radio and TV stations in Nigeria? Does it make sense? Does it show civic? It shows the crudity of the Nigerian people. It shows that people saddled with responsibility, whether in their private or public life, don't have any regard for the populace. Because you expect that if a workers' union has a problem with the management of a particular organization, there are ways of resolving those conflicts. If the union is unable to resolve that conflict within that organization, they can call a strike within that industry for other companies within that same industry, but not to the extent of saying you are shutting down the whole country. It is the highest level of unpatriotism, and it is because time and time again, like you have rightly mentioned, you remember the last time Lagos State government arrested some tanker drivers for parking illegally on the road, and the next thing they said they were declaring a national strike.
And we all suffered.
And we all suffered until the government had to come down and backpedal. It tells you clearly that criminality pays. And until those saddled with the management of our affairs ensures that they wield the big stick, no matter whose ox is God, we'll continue on this path of infamy. For me as a Nigerian, I'm very, very disturbed. I'm worried that I'm a witness to this type of abnormalities that will never happen in anywhere else except in Nigeria. And it is time for us all to come together and rethink how we want to live as a people, how we want to conduct our affairs. Should we be going the wrong way, and because we feel we are in a vantage position, we can hold every other person to ransom? One day, the chicken will come home to roost.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. You want to say something?
Yes, I want to say something, because you see, looking at on this fuel issues, look at Apapa. You can't even go through that route. You can't. Why? Because these truck guys are there. Now, they told us the last time, no movement, they couldn't load and all that. Now, I'll still bring it back to the government. What happened to Calabar? What happened to Port Harcourt? Why is it Lagos? We have this one port. Why can't we decentralize this? What is the government doing? Because seriously, as far as I'm concerned, they are adding to the problem on the ground.
And even in Lagos too. I mean, you have other places. There are
I mean,
deep
must it even just be Lagos? Because all these people will still come to Lagos. They will load their truck and they are traveling to those places. Why can't we have decentralized one? If you say, okay, the pipe, that all these boys goes to pipeline and they damage the pipeline, vandalize and all that. But there's a way
because
out.
very quickly, if for instance the NNPC is saying that it has released 80 million liters and we're not seeing the impact, even the situation at around that Apapa axis could also be part of the problem. Because
very well.
Imagine how long it will take a tanker driver to get there and
get out.
I have spoken to tanker drivers who said it took them about between 4 days to 1 week to get there.
That is why even the transportation, the distribution of our fuel system should not be by truck alone. The pipelines are there. The railways are there. The depot are there.
We know what the problem is with the pipelines.
But the essence of humanity is to find solutions to problems. So if problems are there, you must confront those problems. If we have
leaders with vision, we won't be here talking about
we should confront those problems.
It's quite unfortunate.
Those problems are surmountable.
We should ask the way these things have been done in other countries.
Nigeria is the only OPEC country that still imports refined petroleum products. Nigeria is the only OPEC country that is still battling with pipeline vandalism. Why are we like this? What is different? What will you use to differentiate a Nigerian from any other black man? If you take a blood sample of a Nigerian and a blood sample of another black human being who is not a national of Nigeria, if you don't if you don't label it that this is the blood of a Nigerian, you won't know the difference. We're the same.
We're the same. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Well, that's it on the program. But if you want to watch it again, it's just simple. Just go to our website, tv360nigeria.com. You'll find this program and lots more there. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TV360 Nigeria. Do subscribe now to get the latest updates and happenings around the country. You can also follow us on Google+. That's at TV360 Nigeria. Or like us on Facebook. The address is facebook.com/TV360 online. And on Twitter, you can tweet at us. And the handle is at TV360 Nigeria. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week.